I'm with Jake and Fulton, coming to you on just a regular, normal Monday in April. Weather's nice. Sun is shining. Patrick Mahomes' contract looks better and better and better every single day. And we have our health. How about that? That's what we got here on this edition of Mic'd Up. Jake Levon, Fulton Caster with you here on Mic'd Up. We've got lots to discuss today, including phase one for the Chiefs off season. That is right. What does that mean? It means everybody goes down to Texas and hang out with Patrick Mahomes. That is what that means. We're going to hear from Andy Reid coming up at the bottom of the hour. He spoke just a little bit ago. We'll get you what Big Red had to say. And low-key, he spoke for about 18 minutes. There was about 4 minutes that was actually kind of good stuff. It really was. We'll get to that. Patrick Mahomes will speak to the media. We'll get to that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. We'll talk a little baseball with Dave Lesky. Recap the weekend, overreaction, proper reaction. Lots to talk about today. And it is Mock Draft Monday. We will get to some mock drafts coming up as well. So let us know your thoughts, Royals fans. We're going to start off with the boys in blue. And they were feeling blue.
Yeah.
When it comes to what occurred over the weekend. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line. 272-9429 outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Love to get your thoughts. Check us out on YouTube. Go to Sports on 580. Very simple, very easy if you want to be a part of the show. And let us know your thoughts. So, we're going to get to this when it comes to the Royals. All right? The Royals have the second worst record in baseball, just ahead of the A's, which
we're a Ponzi scheme.
You have told me,
they're a Ponzi scheme.
That doesn't really count. They have the worst record in baseball.
Yeah.
No, the Royals.
The Royals?
Yeah.
For teams that are actually constructed like a real baseball team should be, yes.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So,
because again, the A's are just a front for the Oakland Mafia, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. So the Royals right now are 4-14. The Nationals are 5-11, whom you've joked with how bad they are. The Tigers are 5-9, whom you've joked with how bad they are. The Reds are 6-9. Dan thinks the Rockies are awful. They're 5-11. And I just asked him, I go, who has more wins, the Royals or the Rockies at the end of the year? And he said, the Royals, which then made Brendan laugh out loud audibly, going, wow, Dan. So
the thing is, I mean, Dan's correct.
Yeah. So the Royals are 4-14. They stink. There are two things that I garnered from this series against the Braves. Number one, the Royals are a long way away from the top of, or at least top 5 of Major League Baseball. The Braves, would you agree with me, are a top 3 team, top 5 team, right? Like that is
as of now, I'd call them the best team in the National League.
Okay, yeah. So this is a no matter how you slice it, top 3, top 5 team.
Yeah, they're one of the best teams in baseball, no matter which way you cut it. And
the Royals are really they couldn't hang, okay? And that's how I look at it. You lose 10-3, 9-3, and then 5-4. You lose the series if you want to talk about run differential, 24-10. It wasn't good. Now, I got that from that series against the Braves. The Braves outclassed the Royals to me in a lot of areas. They just have better players, okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the simplest part of it. The Braves just have a better team.
So
they just got better guys.
And if the Royals play the Braves 10 times, they're winning maybe 3 of them. Yeah. I mean, that to me is the Royals are not in any position right now to hang with the big boys. Okay. And Fulton, you're probably, oh, great, Jake's going to be all negative and shut the season down and rah, 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 rah. The Royals do. They stink. There's no other way you can look at that. Here's why I am not all gigantic doom and gloom, and we're talking about ending the season right now. They're 4-14, kind of like the other way, with the Rays, who are 14-2. If they play 500 ball the rest of the year, they're going to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
If the Royals play 500 ball the rest of the year, they win 70 games.
71.
Like, do you see this team playing 500 ball the rest of the way? I'd probably not. But here is where I am going to not be as doom and gloom for a couple reasons. Number one, here are the teams that the Royals have faced. All right. They faced the Braves, top 3 team in baseball. They faced the Twins,
leading the division, best team in the division by far,
according to the power rankings, right? That don't mean anything.
Incredibly
but
weird process.
But the reason I'm going to say is the Royals have faced the Braves, who are, according to the power rankings on various sites, are second. Okay. You face the Twins, who are fifth. Okay. You face the Blue Jays, who are 10-6 on the year and would be in first place if the Rays were not ahead of them. According to the power rankings, they're number 6. Okay. Then you face the Rangers, who have a very good 1-2 punch combo. Apparently, Andrew Heaney good now again with Texas.
I don't know, man.
Okay. And they
I'll eat the crow on that.
They got a guy named DeGrom who the Royals face today. Yay. They're 15th. Okay. Which I think you could argue that it might be a little bit higher, but they're first.
They're pretty good. They're a good team.
They're first in their division.
Yeah.
And then you face the Giants, who are 5-9.
They're
And the reason they're 5-9 is because the Royals took 2 of 3. So they've faced the leader in the NFC, or the NFC, in the NL, in the NL East in the Braves, the AL Central in the Twins, second, but a really good team in the Blue Jays in the AL East, the Rangers, who lead the NL or the AL West, and then you face the Giants, who stink. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why, one of the reasons why, I'm not just gigantic doom and gloom right now, even though this isn't good. There's no other way to put it. And the other reason why, and this is the more frustrating reason why, they're just playing better teams. We know that the Royals are not going to be 9-6 at this point in time. That's just not, that's not going to happen. But like yesterday was a great microcosm of why the Royals are where they're at. And watching the game yesterday, I thought Greinke pitched okay.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought Greinke pitched okay, and he didn't deserve the outcome that he got. And here's the reason why. Edward Olivares plays a ball, and he's not been good defensively this entire year.
He's never been good defensively.
And that, whatever that was, I don't know if he was like trying to field it, try to catch it right off the bat, which, wow, get a better jump. And then midway, he probably was thinking, oh, crap. Well, then he didn't even try to like get in front of it to where the ball would like hit him. And it goes by and they score 2 runs. Well, that already started, the downswing. So that's a play that you can't have happen. Then I don't know why the Royals didn't challenge the double play, because it sure looked like Bobby Witt beat it. Now, maybe he didn't, but they didn't even challenge it. With the Royals, I look at game situation. The Royals, we know who they are. The Braves, we know who they are. This was like your inning. You're not going to get many innings against the Braves. That was your opportunity. You just scored a run. Challenge it. Then you've got runners at third and first with 1 out instead of, a runner at third with 2 outs. And the Royals ended up walking back-to-back guys. And I thought that was a huge missed opportunity. What are you saving your challenges for a later time, Matt Quatraro? I was bummed about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another play that on the margins. We've talked about this a lot. The Royals have to win on the margins.
Yeah.
They are not the Braves where they're just going to out talent you because they're a better roster. You got to win on the margins. So that was another play that they had. You got to take that risk. Then, of course, you had some key opportunities late in the game. You got it done. You tied it up. And then you had another unfortunate outing for Scott Barlow. And then you lose 5-4. Like, that, to me, is a microcosm of this season, is that if you're trying to win, you got to do things the right way. Olivares, you cannot risk that. You can't do that. Or if you do it, my guy, at least fake it and sell out and try to dive and make it look like you're doing it. And so they lost that game yesterday on the margins. They really, really did in a lot of different ways. And that was frustrating. And so this is kind of where I'm at right now with this Royals team at this point in time is they've played a good, like I don't know strength of schedules. I tried to find it, couldn't find it. I know the Rays are not up there. But the Royals I would imagine have played one of the tougher schedules in baseball.
Yeah, probably.
And that's why I can kind of get the 4-14 start.
Mm-hmm.
The pitching has not been as bad as their record shows, 4-14.
No, the pitching's had like 3 bad starts, and that's it.
And the bullpen has given up a couple, which is a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Bats have not been good, and it really looks like, and this is the scary thing, that they're already pressing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit of I'm not all the way fire and brimstone because there's some legit concerns. But the game yesterday that really left a sour taste in my. If that was against any other team outside of like the Rays or the Braves or someone like the Dodgers, I would be a lot more upset. Because I think, oh man, you can't do that against those teams. They almost had a chance to win there, but I wasn't expecting. I mean, when I said here on Monday, I said I hope they get 1 of 3. Right?
Yeah, that was my thing too.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
And so that's what's kind of where we're at to me with the Royals. It's understandable, but it shouldn't be acceptable. And I would like for them to improve on the margins. You've got to do that better.
You do. And here's what I take away from the 3 games. The Royals are not as far away as I would say that sweep should tell you. Because when you look at all 3 games specifically, there was a path to either a victory or a close finish in all 3. Friday night, you started off as bad as you could start out. Brady Singer could not miss the heart of the plate. Couldn't do it. Everything he threw was center. And the Braves are so good, they ain't going to miss. And you're in a 7-0 hole fast. Brady Singer gave 1 run the rest of the way. It finishes 5 innings. That's helpful. Like, Brady Singer somehow gave you 5 innings. I don't know how. But if you look at that game closer, beyond box score watching, they had so many chances to make that lead shorter. They had so many opportunities to make that game closer. Do I think they've really had a chance to win on Friday? Probably not, especially with the hole they dug themselves in so early. But that game finished 10-3. There's a universe, and I know we don't like to play the what-if game, but with the Royals, sometimes you have to think that way when you're trying to quantify where they're really at. There's a universe where that game finishes like 10-6. And we're thinking, well, they gave up 10, but still scored 6 runs. They're only down by 4. They kept fighting. That changes our perception. Then you look at the game on Saturday where it shows the 9-3 finish. That was 5-3 into the 8th inning. Yes, that game finished with a 9-3 score. The Royals hung for that game. They were in that thing until a baffling decision late led to 4 runs being scored in the 8th, which is a bunch of first-year coaches figuring out what to do. Like, it's another one of those things where they had a chance to win it, and some mistakes cost them because they also, once again, had chances to score but couldn't do it. And then Sunday, I think we all agree the Royals had a chance and they yacked it away. They made it 4-4. They had a lot of chances to score a lot more than 4 runs. They couldn't do it. What I'm trying to, like, I'm not trying to revision this in a way of like, well, yeah, you know, if the ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a, you know, happy Christmas. Like, I'm not trying to play that game, but when we talk about where they're at, there is being outclassed and never having a chance. And then there's consistently missing opportunities, which is where the Royals are at.
And I see your point. You're just so much more optimistic than me.
Well,
I look at it like this, though. Like, you just concluded all 3 games, right?
Yeah.
Everything that you said is the Royals didn't do this, the Royals didn't do that, the Royals didn't do that.
And that's why the gap exists, though. And that's my point. Like,
yeah, like
this what I'm just trying to, what my overall point here is, the Royals are not in a spot to compete with the top 5 teams yet. That is bona fide doubt. Bona fide guarantee. They aren't there. No. But what I'm just going to say is, like, I don't think that gap to get to that point is as big as it appears on paper. The gap exists. I'm saying instead of it being like an 80-foot chasm, it might be more like a 40-foot jump. Because and I've harped on this for over a week now. The Royals still have the exact same problem they've had all year at this point. The pitching's doing the best they can. They falter at points, but like, Brady Singer had a bad start to his start. Him being in there for 5 innings, giving up 8 total runs after 7 in the first 2. That's an encouraging sign that he worked through it and he fought to stay in there. Chris Bubic apparently had an arm problem the entire game, and still only. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We will.
I'm starting to question this managerial staff right now.
I have reason. I don't think you should. Like, until they make the same mistake twice, I would not start questioning some of their thoughts. It's, can they learn? And also, how open are they to their mistakes? Matt Quatraro said after the game, you know what? I should have been smarter. Like, you can't change what you did, but you can own up to what you did. And Matt Quatraro openly said, I should have pulled him. I should have been smarter. And which means to me, he won't make that mistake again. First-year managers make mistakes, guys. They do. It's, do they own up to them and move on?
Yes, I agree with you.
And they're going to screw up.
And I know that. There are certain decisions, though, you can't do.
No, I don't agree.
And that's one of them.
I agree. No, you shouldn't do that.
That would be like all of a sudden of me coming on the air and just blasting swear words for 5 straight minutes. And then 20 minutes later, or you know, if I'm not, like, my boss, if I did that, should come in here and yank me off the air. Like, you can't you cannot do that. That is egregious.
I don't disagree.
Egregious.
I don't disagree. He is a first-year manager. It's different.
If I'm a first-year guy running this radio station and you go on the air and I'm, look.
But my point is, like, yes. Bubic said early in his start, when he started, he had forearm tightness. Yes. Should Quatraro probably think about pulling him? But you can't. You don't know how serious. Like, there's so many what ifs there. It happens. Like,
I look at that and in the grand scheme of things, maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it was going to eventually happen anyways. Because from everything that I've read, the ligament in the arm, it's a ticking time bomb for pitchers. Eventually, it is going to burst unless you are a unicorn. I mean, even Justin Verlander's arm, went down. That was kind of disappointing there. It's just,
we don't know how serious Bubic's injury is going to be till he comes back. As of now, it's just a flexor strain. And I know what those are precursors to sometimes, but they aren't always.
Oh, that sucks. That might be an omen for this year. That very well.
It also might not be. We don't know what's going to happen.
No, we don't. I'm just saying it could be a very bad omen.
I know what it can portend, but there's no guarantee. So
the Royals, you think it's a 40-foot chasm jump from the Royals to the Braves, I think it's a lot larger as of this moment in time. But we will get into the hope because there is a date. Last year we put a date on it. We're gonna get to the date tomorrow. Talking more Royals because there's so much stuff going on right now in the sports world. Coming up next, we will recap the weekend with little weekend's takeaways and fails. And fails, Fulton. My weekend takeaway and fail actually just happened today, and that is Jalen Hurts getting the largest contract in NFL history. At least
a lot of money
per annual
AAV.
Yeah, when it comes
That's a lot
to
of money for him. No, it's nice.
51 milli.
Good for him. Good for him. And good for also Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert because they're going to.
Great for the Chiefs that their contract looks so good right now.
It's so great. My fail is very similar for this weekend. College umpires apparently don't want college kids to have fun. A Florida pitcher was ejected because he celebrated a strikeout. That's all he did. And the umpire said, "Get out of here, punk."
Here's okay. I looked at it a whole bunch because I was like, okay, first of all, I wonder if there's anything more. Like, did anything happen prior to it? I don't know.
Nope.
Well, we don't know.
Someone who paid attention to the game like me, no, nothing happened.
Number two, I don't mind. He flexed his his muscles towards the Georgia dugout.
Yeah,
he did do that. I'm just explaining.
I know.
Flexed his muscles towards the Georgia dugout. The ump obviously thought that as taunting, and that's why he tossed him. If that's what we're tossing people for, come on.
That's the point.
I'm with you. Even if it did that's bad. You can't do that.
Unless he hurled incredibly horrible words towards the Georgia dugout.
Come on, man.
Everyone grow up.
That happens a lot. It's passion. It's excitement. Coming up, we're going to hear from Andy Reid. The media today to start phase one. That is right, phase one. Phase one, very, very simple off-season workout program. And it's going to be done via Zoom. And if you are on the offensive side, you need to go down to Texas and get with Patrick Mahomes. That is what they're doing for the second straight offseason. Phase one will not be at the facility. Continuing to do their strength workouts, which they were given before the season ended. And go talk to Patrick. That's kind of nice that Patrick Mahomes has got that cachet. I suppose that's why he's top 100 most influential people in, for the society. I guess you could get it to that way. So Patrick Mahomes running the practices and running OTAs. The offseason workout OTAs will be coming up a little bit later. But Andy Reid met with the media, and Andy Reid talked a lot about, coming off the Super Bowl, looking at who needs to improve, a lot of other things. Thought there was some interesting things about the NFLPA report. We'll get to that. A lot of stuff that Andy Reid talked about. Here's what Big Red had to say to the media today.
Hey, Coach, appreciate the time here. Hope you've been well. I know you've been doing this a long time. Not an old joke, I promise you that. But in your experience, what can you learn from these off-season workouts this kind of phase one, phase two thing? I know in the past you've let the guys kind of do their own thing for phase one. Is it a culture building? Is it a shaking off the rust? What can you gather from this time of the year?
Yeah, so phase one is good for the offense, probably more so than the defense. Defense, working with the Zoom part of it's important. Working with the strength and conditioning part is important. The offensive guys can get together and throw the ball around. You can't do that on the defensive side necessarily. So they'll get together and do that. The reason I do it, though, I mean, really is because of the time off. Give the guys, I just want them to freshen up. I mean, that season doesn't seem like it was very long ago that you're playing in the Super Bowl and having the parade and then, all of a sudden, bam, you're back into phase one. So it gives the guys an opportunity to kind of get away.
Hey, Andy, with the draft coming up, wanted to ask you, you guys have done a nice job of drafting and developing players in later rounds in the recent years. Is there something from a coaching side of things that maybe you can point to as a reason why maybe these guys are coming along, not just coming along, but coming along quickly?
Yeah, well, since I've been here and John Dorsey started this, was he brings the guys in and they spend a ton of time together. They go like 18 straight days and in lockdown mode, and this is kind of their second go round with that. But and I'm saying all the scouts together, but I think the guys do a great job of accumulating information. Brett obviously heads all of this up and stays very disciplined with it, which is another thing. There are no shortcuts that he takes, and I think that pays off in the long run. I mean, will you have all the starters that we had this year starting? I mean, I can't say that this was a unique year, but I know that Brett does a great job of getting everybody involved, coaches involved in it, and scouts, and their opinions matter. And I think that he's able to blend all that together and then make these picks. So he's very thorough with that. Come on, Vi, doggone it.
Andy, good to see you. Thanks for doing this. I sort of a two-parter, really. You've had a few weeks, even months now, to kind of process what you just had happen, and I wonder if you've had any specific feeling of a different impact or meaning to winning a second Super Bowl. And I'll have a follow-up, Brad.
Yeah, I probably haven't. The one thing I think you could do is you enjoyed it this time better than you did the last time. It just kind of slowed down a little bit for you. But you're right back on it. I mean, right when we got done with the parade, I had to hire coaches. And that was a little bit longer process, especially not only with the hiring, but then moving people around and making sure that settled right. And, so there hasn't been a lot of downtime or that. We've been kind of cranking away and going. Then you're right into free agency and into the draft now. So it's been great. Have I learned anything from it? I can't tell you that anything's different other than it's a little bit shorter off season.
And well, the follow-up is really, we know you're very process driven, right? And that your motivation, I think we all can assume, is in the process a lot of times. But do you perceive any particular challenge to, for lack of a better term, motivation to avoid complacency around anybody that you're coaching? Or what do you see in Patrick and everybody at this stage that way?
Yeah, so I think the important thing is just the word you used was the process. I think that's most important. No shortcuts. You just nothing that's really good comes easy. We know that. There are a lot of highs and lows, or more games determined by 7 points, a score or less. So you've got to make sure that you go through the process and do the hard work and build a foundation. All those things become super important, as they are every year. So the main thing is that though you don't cheat that. Don't cheat the process. And so that's kind of, if I'm sticking to one thing, I'd tell you it's that. I mean, I understand that. And do you have to have a few breaks here and there? Absolutely. But don't skip the work.
Hey, Coach. Brad, I'll have just a second one if I could. First of all, with the receivers, you guys end up losing Juju, you lose McCole. How ready do you feel Kadarius and Sky Moore are able to pick up maybe where they left off?
Yeah, Pete. I mean, I think it's important that that they continue to grow, both of them. You know, KT now, he's not like a seasoned veteran in the league. He's still a relatively young guy and young in this offense. So growth will be important. How they handle this offseason, how they handle training camp, and you know, that whole workload that comes with it. But I'm expecting good things from them for sure. They're wired the right way, and they just gotta keep improving and developing that relationship with Pat. And you know, to Vahe's question there, Pete, that I mean, Pat's been on it right from the get-go, so he's been all over it, and with the guys, with the coaches, he checks in all the time. Hey, how we doing? You know, and free, how we doing with the draft? You know, he's interested in that, which is unique, I think. And so he's either talking to myself or Brett all the time.
And you guys were really successful with moving Orlando and having him be the left tackle. Now that you bring in Jawan, how confident are you that he can play left tackle? What are the plans? I know it's early just as of now in that regard.
Yeah, I liked him. I liked his tape. Now we saw him firsthand a couple times too. So even though he was on the right side, I think he could transfer over to the left side. He's really a good athlete, and I think he's excited about that. And that doesn't mean he can't play the right side. I mean, if he's at another left tackle, he can play the right side. So he gives you flexibility. He probably could jump in at guard, and he's smart. He probably can play center if we had to. But he's a pretty talented kid, and look forward to getting him in here. I think that was a great pickup by Brett.
Coach, you mentioned the guys going down to Texas, working and throwing. How much do you encourage that? Do you stress it, emphasize it? I know everything. You get the voluntary stage, but how much can that benefit guys from being down there?
Yeah, that's important too. I mean, it is voluntary. So, but I think it's the way Pat handles himself to where the guys want to do it. I don't have to say a whole lot. They've actually been down there for a week with each other, and they rent a couple of homes down there and they do their thing. So I think it's a real positive thing. It's a good team builder from the wide receiver, tight ends, running backs, and quarterback position. They're able to kind of feel each other out and talk to each other. It's good to have some guys that have been through it, so they can talk to the newer guys and help coach them up.
And then Coach Jalen Hurts, it was announced today, signed the largest contract per year. Pat still has the largest one for total dollars, but per year, it was out there. There's also some of the websites were putting up like the top 5 average per year. Pat's not in that. I know that's the way of the league. It happens this way all the time. But when you hear that, is that something that gets you and Brett together and talking? You two calling down to Patrick? Is it do you analyze where you're at with this contract and make sure you're in touch with him about what future plans might be if there's any alterations to it?
Yeah. So listen, I'm not too involved in that part of it. We've got people that actually do that. The Brad Tillises and Chris Shays and Brett obviously overlooks that side, and Clark Hunt's very involved. So it's they always keep their eye on those things, and they understand the value of Pat, and obviously by the last contract. One crazy thing in this business, as you know, and really it's this way in every business. Right when you sign a big deal, somebody's going to beat you. I mean, it's and if you can start chasing that and kind of forget about your job at hand. But Pat's got a great feel for all that stuff, and The main thing he wanted to do, which my hat just goes off to him, is he wanted to do a deal that was team friendly, so that we could sign. If you lose a left tackle, you can go out and sign another one and have that flexibility there. So, I think he's got a great feel on all that.
Hey, thanks, Brad. I'll have a quick follow-up too. Andy, just with the draft being in Kansas City, obviously I think for all of us on this call, it changes a lot, but for you guys in the building, I mean, does anything change just with the location of it being here?
It really doesn't. We'll be right here in the building in the draft room. So that won't change at all. I'm excited for the city. I think obviously all these people that are coming in for this are excited. They're excited to be in Kansas City. You better get the barbecue fired up and ready to go, because you have a lot of folks here.
And then the second thing I wanted to ask you, I think it's the first time we've chatted with you since the NFLPA report came out. And obviously there was some stuff in there about Rick, and players felt discouraged from reporting their injuries. Just what was your takeaway from that? And is there any change in protocol and emphasis on trying to change that environment?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Sam, that was done early in the season. We had a lot of new folks in the building here, and everything kind of starts in that training room. Those are the first guys between the training room and the equipment room and weight room. Those are the first people that are going to be seen. And that training room is not leisure world, right? So that's a place that you come in and you get your rehab done. It's not, that's what it is, and that's how we do it here. And other places do it different, but we're in there to fix your problems. And if you have a problem, we'll get it taken care of. And Rick is in a position where he's got to enforce that. I mean, that's just kind of the bottom line on it. And so it's different. It's different when you get different people in, and the trainer is normally not necessarily the good guy in those situations. So it's but there's a reason why you have the training room. But we've looked at all of this. We've evaluated it. We've looked at it. We're in a position now with our facility, which also got knocked down, where their future plans for whatever direction it goes for new facilities. And so I lived this when I was in Philadelphia. That takes time. It takes time to get all that planned out. And you're not going to take and put a whole load back into your facility that you have here if there's future plans. So, I get all of that too, right? But we've tried to keep it where it's a great place to come to work. I think we do a good job with that. I don't think we're behind necessarily, and things might not be as fancy as other places, but we normally come here to work hard. I think if you would have talked to the guys at the end of the season, they would have been probably a little different evaluation. We try to stay on top of all that, make sure we know how the guys are feeling on that.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned about the players meeting virtually again for this phase. That's something you did last year as well. Anything else that's really you're changing up for the OTAs this year, whether it's something that you want to do differently or something that Matt Nagy has wanted to do differently?
Yeah, I wouldn't say different. It'll be the same format as we go into it. So, Matt, I'd probably tell you no. I mean, there's nothing that we've made drastic changes on. Now, we've gone through scheme evaluation, and so there are things that we'll take out and new things we'll put in and do. And Matt's a big part of that too. So.
That is what head coach Andy Reid had to say to the media today. Few things. One, everybody's down in Texas, working with Mahomes. It is voluntary. They rented out a couple houses. I think it'd be fun just to hang out. But man, how about that last answer with the NFLPA? We talked about that report. And no surprise, Andy Reid's going to defend his guy, Rick Burkholder. He's been with the Andy ever since the Eagles. And he said, well, that was taken early. a lot of new folks. But he basically kind of called out the players who were crying and complaining to Rick. It ain't, as he called, leisure club. I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing it ain't no vacation. Rehab is not supposed to be vacation. If you've ever had to rehab an injury, you know it is difficult. No one likes it. It's not fun. It's painful. And that's where he says, no one has a good time in there. And so I look at that as, okay, maybe a few people who maybe weren't part of the team, maybe they were a little bit low on the totem pole. We kind of addressed that where, it kind of depends on who it is. That's why it's hard to know when it's anonymous. But Andy Reid kind of backing Rick Burkholder because that's his guy. That's no surprise there. But how about the facility topic? Whoo! Andy Reid, says, our facilities got knocked a little bit, but he goes, it's kind of, we're kind of just waiting. It doesn't make much sense to invest in something, and then you got future plans or new facilities and what we're going to do. Really? Okay. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to, put a bunch of money into a building that they're not going to use in the future.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? Well, what's going to happen there at One Arrowhead Way? It's going to happen there at Arrowhead, the practice facility. What's the deal here? Are they going to do something? We've heard time and time again John Sherman say these words. Well, and we're going to talk to the Chiefs as well. Okay. Now we got maybe an idea. I get it. Why spend money on something that you're not going to use in 5 years? Mm-hmm. Why not do it for the long term? Okay. You got to think broad picture, not short and small. Like, oh yeah, we'll do something here for the next 2 years, and then we're going to destroy this building. That doesn't make any sense. Now, they don't know. Maybe it's just refurbish it when they know things. That tells me there's a lot of things going on in the kitchen that we don't really know about.
It's simple. Royals move downtown. Kauffman Stadium leveled. You build a new Chiefs Stadium there. Chiefs move into the new place next door. You level Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs build all their fancy entertainment center crap. Boom. It's like a 10-year process, what I just laid out for you, but that's the move. And it starts with the Chiefs kicking the Royals out the door.
That's interesting. Or the Chiefs move somewhere else. Maybe say in the Kansas side. I'd be on board with that.
I wouldn't complain.
So I thought that was maybe the most telling answer from Andy Reid there at the end after he addressed the Rick Burkholder topic. But we got future plans coming on in the works. So anything the Chiefs do is calculated. Now, maybe this situation, Andy Reid gave a little bit more info than what he normally does.
Mm-hmm.
But remember a couple, I don't know, maybe last year at some point in time, but all of a sudden that popped out like, the Chiefs are looking somewhere potentially, in the Kansas side.
Yeah.
And everybody freaked out. That was tactical, folks. Very, very tactical. And when you've got Patrick Mahomes, you can, and Andy Reid, you can do anything you want to. You want to ask for $8 billion? Fans are going to be like, here you go. A little different when you got a two-time Super Bowl champ playing for you. It really, really is. Coming up, Mock Draft Monday. Everyone loves to listen. We'll talk a little Royals baseball with David Lesky. Mic'd Up. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake Levon along with Fulton Caster. We've got Royals baseball coming up tonight. The Royals taking on the Texas Rangers. So they will be done with the Rangers come Wednesday. That is how simple and easy that season-long series is going to be. So the Royals taking on the Rangers tonight. And it does not get any easier for the Kansas City Royals as they will be facing Jacob deGrom up against Jordan Lyles. Now, the Royals did do a fairly decent job against Jacob deGrom. We'll see if they can do it again. Jordan Lyles hanging tough, eating innings like he's doing. We'll see if the Royals can find a way to snap their losing streak as they got swept by the Atlanta Braves. We've got Everyone Loves the List. We're going to talk about characters who didn't deserve what they ended up getting, whether it be TV series, movies, somewhere that you think, you know what, they did that man dirty or they did that woman dirty. We'll get to that coming up. We'll talk a little Royals with David Lesky. We'll get to Patrick Mahomes coming up in the 2:00 hour here on Mic'd Up. As always, hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts. Check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Click the subscribe button on Sports on 580. Very simple, very easy for you to interact with us. It is Monday in the month of April. Means it's time to mock draft Monday. All righty. We're going to go with a 7-round mock draft. This time from CBS. All right. Now they've got CJ Stroud going number 1. That doesn't look like that's going to happen because it sounds like Bryce Young canceled all of his other workouts and kind of sounds like he's going to go to the Carolina Panthers. Who would you take? Are you taking Stroud or are you taking Young?
Bryce Young, and I'm not thinking twice about it.
Bryce Young, not thinking twice about it. Okay. Not worried about height, weight?
Nope.
Not worried about anything.
He's got all the mental stuff. I can work around the height and the weight. He mentally processing the game is leaps and bounds better than any other quarterback in this class.
Right on. All right. Let's go.
Physical tools are overrated. Looking at you, Will Levis.
We are going to look at the Kansas City Chiefs. All right. I think the Chiefs, if they were to move up, the furthest they can move up is pick number 23. I don't think they can move up any higher than that. I really don't. I think it's going to cost way too much. Okay. So pick number 23. In this mock draft, Jordan Addison, pick number 23, which is interesting because he plays wide receiver. Would you move up to pick 23 for Jordan Addison?
Personally, not really.
I wouldn't either. I would not either. Then there goes Miles Murphy, D lineman. Quentin Johnston. Would you move up to pick 25 for Q?
I would. I like Quentin Johnston.
So that's one guy that you got to look at. Sam Laporta, tight end, goes to the Cowboys at 26. Bijan Robinson goes to the Bills at 27. Michael Mayer, tight end of the Fighting Irish, goes to the Bengals. Brian Breesy, D lineman, goes to the Saints. Nolan Smith goes to the Eagles at pick 30. They have the Chiefs at pick number 31, taking Anton Harrison, offensive lineman, offensive tackle more specifically, from the Oklahoma Sooners, 6'4", 315. That's what they say. There were some that thought Harrison might return to Oklahoma for an NIL deal that was too good to pass up, but instead he's opting for the NFL. He's one of the top tackles in the class, and now question is whether he finds his way into round 1 or goes early day 2. If they don't trade up and they just take Anton Harrison at 31, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up for me.
I'm with you. I think that's a thumbs up. I think there are about 4 or 5 offensive linemen that are going to be pretty good, and I think he's got the tools to do so. And I think Oklahoma offensive linemen, if you look at it, under this current staff and everything, they've been pretty good. So I'm all right with Anton Harrison. So I always like to look at who they could have taken. According to this mock draft, would you be down for Keon White, edge, Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I'd probably be fine with that.
I'm not huge on Keon White because I don't think he's big enough.
And I think that's fair.
Under the Spag situation. Would you take BJ Ojulari, edge out of LSU?
I'd take BJ.
Okay. Would you take DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle, Ohio State?
Oh, yeah.
That, to me, is the most interesting one because they play the same position and they're roughly about the same distance apart. You know, the The other guys that you could go after, the offensive linemen who are going to be taken early, like, what's his name? Darnell Wright, Broderick Jones, Skoronski. Like, you don't have a chance of getting those guys.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be gone too early. But the DeJuan Jones or Ant Harrison, that, to me, would be something interesting to follow. Their second pick, the Chiefs take Adebawore, edge out of Northwestern. I am not a huge fan of this pick, and here's the reason why. I think it's more flash from the combine and his numbers and not substance. That's me personally. I would rather them go somewhere else. Would you be on board if they take Northwestern edge rusher Adebawore?
At the back of the second round, I'm fine with the pick.
Okay.
There's good athleticism there. There's good potential predictable tools. There's other things you have to work with him. But I'm okay with, back of the second round guys occasionally have a little bit of project in them.
Okay.
That's a spot I'd be willing to be fine with it.
Not any other defensive edge rushers taken really around that spot, to be honest with you. It's kind of if he's the best edge rusher there, graded out wise, all right. The next drafted player is pick number 72, which is 9 spots later. That's the edge rusher out of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So then you keep on scrolling down, and the Kansas City Chiefs, pick number 95, take Cedric Tillman, wide receiver out of Tennessee. Yay or nay?
Yeah, cool with it.
I would not be on board with that because I think you could have taken maybe a better spot there. My guy Marvin Mims is already off the table at pick number 71.
Your boy Marv is way off the table by that point.
And at the third pick number 95, you're not going to get the flashy name, but that's who they have taking for the Chiefs, Cedric Tillman, wide receiver. So if you go with the first 3 picks, they address the 3 biggest needs. They address offensive line, they address the edge, and they address the wide receiver spot. If you want to go into round 4, where we're getting to guys that we don't really know a whole lot, Cameron Young, pick number 122 to the Chiefs. No, not the golfer who finished very well at the Masters. No, this is defensive lineman out of Mississippi State. And then with their compensatory pick, they took running back Kendre Miller out of TCU. I like Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller, really good player. If you're going to take a running back, this would be the time to take it to me in the 4th round. Compensatory 4th round, which is essentially a 5th round pick, then I'm on board with it. That's not a problem. So that is CBS's mock draft. Got any problems with that?
I personally don't. I think there's some fine picks. We can always nitpick a little bit on who and what spot and what's around and stuff like that. But I think the guys you get in the first 3 rounds they address your needs, and I think they all have a way they can fit into the scheme, which I think is what's just important.
What about Pro Football Network's latest 7-round mock draft? They take Stroud first, Bryce Young second, Anthony Richardson to the Colts at number 4. That's where things get interesting. Who do the Colts take? Because I think
if they don't take a quarterback, they're insane.
Yeah, I think Arizona will take Will Anderson. I think that's going to be Will Anderson
if they pick at 3.
So I'm going to go with that's going to be fun to follow. All right. So who do the Chiefs have, and do they trade up? Remember, I think the furthest thing that they can do is trade up to 23. All right. You on board taking Trenton Simpson, a linebacker from Clemson?
No, because this team doesn't need first-round linebackers.
Nolan Smith, edge rusher to Jacksonville at 24.
I'd be intrigued by Nolan Smith.
I think he's too small. I think he's more of a outside backer. The Giants, you'd be on board with Quentin Johnson, trading
Always
up
will be.
to get Quentin Johnson. 26, Bijan Robinson. The Chargers moving up to take Michael Mayer, tight end, out of Notre Dame. San Francisco takes Darnell Wright, offensive tackle. The Saints take Lucas Van Ness. And then the Raiders, they move up. They draft Will Levis at pick number 30. And the Chiefs take pick number 31, DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Says here the choice of DeJuan Jones was made for the Chiefs when the 49ers traded into the first round and grabbed Darnell Wright. However, there's an argument between the two at right tackle. Jones made great strides as a blocker in 22, rounding out his game into being a quality player. I'd be on board with DeJuan Jones. Sweet. Sounds good.
In this particular mock draft, I am not on board for DeJuan Jones for one specific reason. It's very specific.
Why is that?
If Lucas Van Ness is sitting on the board at 29, you move heaven and earth to go get Lucas Van Ness.
You big Van Ness guy.
Yes. That's the only reason why.
Okay.
If Lucas Van Ness falls that far, Brett Veach, you get on the phone with somebody quickly and go give Lucas Van Ness.
He's at
I
29?
get, right tackle and other spots are a thing, but I've moved to the Brendan Rosinski philosophy of this, and it's just like a bullpen. You can never have too many good edge rushers.
Have you ever heard a coach say this? Yeah, we got too much depth on the D line.
Yeah, and that's my exact point of no, you go get another
Mhm.
stud, and I think Lucas Van Ness is going to be a stud on the edge.
And I don't think it would take a ton to move up two
If
spots.
it's 2 spots, no.
You know what I mean?
No.
And there's one thing that we have that I have read and we've heard about, and that is this draft has a lot of depth at the offensive tackle spot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can go get an edge rusher there at 29, I'm on board with that. If that's the guy that they think is the next, dude for the Kansas City Chiefs, then go get Lucas Van Ness. Now, you could either have had in this mock draft DeJuan Jones or Anton Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was something to keep in mind. So looking at the second pick for the Chiefs, at pick number 63 take Trey Palmer, wide receiver out of Nebraska. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know a lot about Trey Palmer. And the reason being is because, Nebraska stinks. It says here, exploding onto the scene despite Nebraska's recent struggles, Palmer shined brightest when he was targeted downfield with the Cornhuskers. He can get open at any level, but really pulls away from defensive backs deep downfield. Chiefs don't need that. That's the one thing that they really don't need. They need a route runner. That's why I'm not a big Jalen Hyatt guy, because I think Jalen Hyatt just runs super fast down the field and catches the ball. That's why I'm a big Marvin Mims guy, which he was taken 59th here. That is one where I would move up to get Marvin Mims. I would rather have Marvin Mims than Trey Palmer. And it was just 2 spots ahead, kind of, in your situation. How much is it going to take to move up 2 spots late in the second round? Maybe a 5th round pick?
If that.
You know what I mean?
Maybe just move up a couple spots.
So I think that is something to keep in mind. What about pick number in the 3rd round for the Kansas City Chiefs? They take DJ Johnson, the edge out of Oregon. So in this situation, same thing, Fulton. They just do it in a different order. They took offensive lineman, wide receiver, edge in this situation. You would have flipped it. You would have gone, you got your Van Ness, maybe find a wide receiver, then do an offensive lineman.
Which, with the way this board shook out, I would have done the same thing as you and tried to get Marvin Mims in a little bit of action there in the back part of 2. Those are the 3 picks for the Kansas City Chiefs in the first 3 rounds. So DJ Johnson, DeJuan Jones in the first 2 rounds. And then in round 4, they take Isaiah McGuire, edge, and Dante Stills, defensive tackle out of West Virginia.
We know he's a load inside. So if either one of these, I can see the path. I would maybe have gone a little bit differently if I were the Chiefs. Because I do think there is a chance they move up. They've got enough draft capital, especially with picks in the 4th round and in the 5th round, that I think getting a guy who falls, like if Van Ness falls all the way to 29, or if Johnson falls all the way to 27 or 28, moving up that, I think you can do that. Same thing in the 2nd round for the Kansas City Chiefs. Really do think that. Coming up next, what character did they do wrong? We'll get to that here on Mic'd Up. Loves the list, and today, very simple. Who's a character that didn't deserve their fate? Like, man, that is wrong. Who do you got?
I got my 4 men here who all I think did wrong by their fates.
Okay.
Number 4, the legend John Coffey. John Coffey got the wrong end of the stick. I know it fit for the film and everything, and it all had a purpose. John Coffey still deserved better. That's why it's lower, because I get why it all happened.
Oh, well, most of these you get why, because it fits the narrative.
But still, no, John deserved better. John Coffey deserved better.
Yep. Number 4 for me, man, they didn't have to do Brooks Hatlin like they did in Shawshank Redemption, man. Come on. He was institutionalized, yes, but man, the way he went out That's wrong. What do you got?
Number 3 for me, I don't know how much of our listener base is as nerdy as I am, so I'm not going to go into incredible detail because this is a series currently running. And this is from their last episode they did. But my man Paz Vizsla in The Mandalorian didn't deserve what just happened to him. My big chain gun shooting Mandalorian did not deserve the fate that befell him at that most recent one. I will not spoil anything for everybody out there, but they did him wrong. They did him dirty, and I'm still upset.
Number 3, did not see it coming. He did everything right. Ned Stark, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Are you a GOTer? Did you watch any of it?
I watched the first 5 seasons.
Okay. Man, they killed him early.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yes, he was one of the main characters and just gone.
It learned very quickly, don't get attached.
Ned Stark, man, they did him wrong.
Number 2, the more nerdy things I like keep coming out here. My man Heimdall in Avengers. Heimdall was a great man with Thor, was fantastic alongside him, and gets ganked on a ship trying to defend people.
Who's that guy?
Control of the Bifrost Bridge and Thor.
Yeah. He died.
Yeah, and it was brutal. It was stupid.
Who killed him?
He died on Thanos' ship, I believe. There's a lot of timeline here, but I'm pretty sure that's where he got.
Number 2
made me sad.
Number 2 for me, if you just think about it, Mufasa.
Yeah,
his brother.
Yeah,
his own brother, and he did it trying to save his kid, Mufasa. Man, they did him wrong.
Yeah, they did. No, I'll agree with you on that.
All right.
Number 1 for me. Supernatural is my favorite TV show of all time. Bobby Singer did not deserve to get killed the way he did.
I don't know who that is.
I know you don't. I do. He didn't deserve it. Bobby deserved better. Bobby was an amazing man.
Okay.
He deserved better. I'm still mad.
Number 1, and it's the number 1. It's unanimous. G-Baby on Hardball. There is no reason they should have done that to anyone watching that movie. You seen Hardball?
No.
G-Baby. Why? I'm going to start crying right now. Not okay. Coming up, we're going to talk with David Lesky on all things Royals baseball. Hopefully hear from Patrick Mahomes in the 2 o'clock hour. That's the plan. Patrick Mahomes a little late meeting with the media today. You heard from Andy Reid talking all things Chiefs in phase one. Little overreaction, proper reaction coming up as well in the 2 o'clock hour. We've got Royals baseball coming up tonight. Jordan Lyles up against Jacob deGrom. The Royals taking on the Rangers. 6 o'clock pregame coverage, 6:40 first pitch coming from the K. And to talk all things Royals baseball right now, David Lesky. You can follow him on Twitter at DB Lesky. Does a great job with his newsletter, Inside the Crown. Dave, how are you doing on this Monday?
I'm good. Better than the Royals are, right? How are you?
I'm doing well. Did this series show us how far away they are from a top-tier team?
Yeah. I mean, it showed that they're not there. I don't know if it necessarily gave the measuring stick. Like if it's, they're 2 years away, they're 4 minutes, whatever. But it definitely showed they're not on the par of the Braves. And you look at, they got swept by the Twins that opening weekend. We all know it, obviously. I didn't feel like they were dominated in any way. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one here, but I don't think you can. They pitched well. The hits didn't fall in. Like they lost 3 games. They got swept. Yeah, but they weren't. It just didn't feel like they were like the minor league team versus a major league team. And they lost 3 or 4 to the Blue Jays. They didn't feel dominated. I don't know. It just felt like they were kind of there. It's not as good, but not like in a different league. It felt like they were in a different league this weekend. And I mean, I wrote this morning. It felt like that Dodgers series last year. Which they won a game in that series because Brady Singer was really, really good. And Brady Singer was really, really bad in the one game against the Braves. So they didn't have that benefit, but it was another series that's just like, hey, they're not there yet. Not that they can't get there. I mean, this year I would say they can't get there. I'm not going to predict that, but they're clearly the lesser team, and it felt like they really had no shot, which kind of makes yesterday more disappointing because they had a shot. And it's not that easy. Like, they were fifth inning on Friday night. They were down by 5, but they had the bases loaded with 1 out. Big hit changes things. It gets them back into that. Saturday, they were down by 2 in the 7th. I'm not saying they were going to win, but they were in it. And yesterday, of course, they tied it. So maybe I'm overstating it, but it just felt like the Braves were worlds better than the Royals.
Do we have to reevaluate Edward Olivares in the outfield? He hasn't been good at all this year in the outfield.
I don't think we have to reevaluate, because I think that we all thought that before. So it kind of confirmed some previous biases. Look, Edward Olivares has a nice bat that is not good enough to be a DH, but his glove is not good enough to be an outfielder regularly. And we all. I don't think the Royals were right in not playing him, because why not? Before last season. I mean, last year he played when he was healthy. He just couldn't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But like 2021, give the guy a shot. Who cares? They're not going to win anything, whatever. I think it's becoming more clear why they didn't give him that shot, because he will lose you games with his glove. There are some defenders out there who they will not win you a game, but like Franmil Reyes in left field, you don't want him out there very often, but he's probably not going to do something really stupid. He's not going to make the play, but he's probably going to at least be very cautious. The problem with Olivares, I think, my opinion is, he's got the athleticism to be better, and he plays as if he is better with that athleticism. And then what happens is balls like yesterday, and balls, Friday wasn't the athleticism thing. That was just, he made a mental mistake letting that ball go. But I think that he's showing why he really wasn't given a shot. I think they were wrong to not give it to him, because who cares if he let a few balls go in 2021? But at least you see why now.
Mm-hmm.
It became a little more obvious this weekend, but he's never been a good defender. And at this point, it's hard to. I don't know why you would assume he will become one. I mean, you look at. Sorry, I'm droning now, but you look at MJ Melendez. He's been like really good defensively, very quietly. Very few people are talking about it, and the numbers are very young. Obviously, in a 16 game season so far, where he's caught a few of those games, but his range looks really good. His first step looks really good. He took the offseason and learned how to play the outfield, and he's gotten better. Edward Olivares is an outfielder and is not getting better.
We're talking with David Lesky here on Mic'd Up. You can check out his newsletter. Fantastic one. All you got to do is Google it, Inside the Crown. Sign up for it. Very simple, very easy. All right, the offense stinks. There's no other way to put it. The pitching, better than what they're getting, which is a positive. It really is. The hitting stinks right now. They are swinging a ton and missing. We raved about, the hitting instruction and Zumwalt and all those guys. Last year they weren't doing it. This year, kind of, they are the players. What seems to be the biggest issue? Are we doing what, all, analysts do at this time when a team struggles? Are they already pressing? Are they trying to hit a 4-run homer with one guy on base? Like, this isn't something that this team and these players did a ton of last year. Now they are. Seems like everybody's turning into Salvador Perez.
Yeah, it's not great. Even Vinny Pasquantino has been swinging the bat more. Obviously, he's still doing quite well, and I think he still walked more than he struck out. I'm not 100% positive on that, but I'm pretty sure he has. You wonder a little bit if they are pressing, because typically when hitters get out of their typical patterns of when they swing and when they don't, it's because they're trying to do too much. And so that, that underscores why it was so important to get off to a better start than they did, because then they didn't have to press. I mean, they didn't score a run until the second inning of the third game. So it's not surprising to see I believe they're the fifth youngest offense in baseball by average age. And keep in mind, that's really weighed down by Salvador Perez, who is one of 9. It's not like he is, they played older guys, but it's generally 27 under in the lineup. I don't know if it's as simple as they're pressing, but they are absolutely pressing. I mean, I don't think anybody can argue otherwise. And I think back, do you remember last year they had that long scoreless stretch, or I think it was a scoreless stretch, and they were down, I want to say it was 3-0 in New York. And they scored 5 in the 5th or 6th inning. And from that point forward, the offense was fine for a long time. And they had another long scoreless stretch and the same thing. And they broke through with, I think Salvi hit a bloop single. And sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's that simple to just, you got to see some results. And what's concerning is they haven't been horrible, honestly. I mean, they've been bad, not horrible. And I mean, they've scored some runs. They've gotten some runs in. There's not getting enough in, and so it almost feels like they're pressing, even though they shouldn't be anymore. I don't know. I mean, they scored, but it was 10-1 on Wednesday. I mean, they came into that Braves series. Think about how good the feelings were for a 4-9 team, as good as they could have been, and then that happened. I don't know. Again, the Braves are really good. I think that we have to couch everything we talk about with this team with the schedule in some ways, because the Rays are 14-2, right? But who have they beaten? It's been the A's, the Nationals, who is it? Tigers? Whoever it was. They played a lot of really bad teams. I'm not taking credit away from them, because great teams don't always beat bad teams. Again, the Dodgers lost to the Royals once last year. So, like, all credit to them. But the Royals have had almost the flip schedule of that. They've played a first-place team in the Twins, a team that I think is in second place in the Blue Jays, a first-place team in the Rangers, first-place team in the Braves, and then the Giants. And, by the way, the one series they've won is against a team that is not good. So there's at least that. But, yeah, I don't know what the issue is. But this is where you find out if your coaching is what you think it is. This is where you find out if, okay, we made all these changes, and they didn't on the hitting side, so maybe this isn't the best example. But I think as a team, this is where you say, okay, now they got to go to work, because in 2023 baseball, the vast majority of a manager's job, of a coach's job, well, a manager's job at least, is to manage the personalities and not necessarily push this button or that button, because most of the buttons are predefined. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of, they got to earn some stripes now. And the schedule is not as difficult moving forward. I think they get the Rangers again for 3 and Jacob deGrom tonight. So offensively, I'm not. If they put up a 0 tonight, I don't think anybody's going to go, well, it's the Royals offense again. No, that I'll give deGrom. He's amazing. But then they go to Anaheim, and the Angels are just okay. And they go to Arizona, and the Diamondbacks are, I mean, they're fun and they're young, but they're just okay. They don't have quite the gauntlet. And then it really opens up a lot in May. So they need to show something. They have a chance. I mean, they need to show that they can turn it around, but this is a big 2 to 3 week stretch for this team.
David Lesky is our guest. Writes a fantastic newsletter of Inside the Crown. Just Google it. You'll find it. Subscribe to it. It is a fantastic option. Dave, to move over to the pitching side of things here, we had 2 young starters for the Royals go against the Braves, and Brady Singer and Chris Bubic. And I think we all were wondering, how would they do in a start against a better offense? I want to start with Chris Bubic, because the start was interesting. I had a feeling something was wrong when the game started and Chris Bubic's velocity was noticeably dipped from where it has been. We later figured out he's been placed on the injured list with a flexor strain, which it can be a precursor to Tommy John, but is not always it's one of those, as you said Inside the Crown today, it's the squares and rectangles kind of argument here. looking at Chris Bubic's start, obviously he didn't have his stuff that he had the first two games, dealing with a difficult lineup. Overall, to me, he still was able to keep them in the game, even with all those different things affecting him. What did you take away from Chris Bubic's start against the Braves this weekend?
Yeah, it's hard to take a lot away just because it sounded like he was hurting early, which that's a long conversation we can have about why he threw 100 pitches if his forearm was tight early in the game. His velocity comes out low, but that's where he was last season. And in my mind, it was one of those, well, here we go. He's back to lower velocity. I don't know. But I like that he still threw strikes. I mean, that's been one of Chris Bubic's biggest issues throughout his whole career, really. I mean, his walk rate is way too high. He doesn't strike out enough hitters, or he hasn't struck out enough hitters with that walk rate to justify it, and it's been a problem. Well, he walked one guy on Saturday in 5 innings in the 100 pitches. I'm looking it up right now. I can't remember how many strikes he threw. 64 strikes in 100 pitches. That works. That's a good number. I mean, you might say you want 2-1, so okay, give him 2 more strikes, but really, it's close enough. He battled against a really, really good offense that's hitting on all cylinders right now. He left a little bit too much in the middle of the plate. I think some of that was the injury. I think that at the time we thought, maybe it's the cold, it's all that. And that, look, both teams had to deal with it, but I also thought that the Braves starter, oh my God, I'm blanking on who started on Saturday.
Bryce Elder's start.
Bryce Elder, yeah. I thought Bryce Elder looked iffy also. I mean, he gave up 8 or 9 hits in 5 1/3. He gave up I think he gave up all 3 runs. So the cold impact starters too, for sure. But I liked that he battled. I just, I wish that if he comes into the dugout early and says, "Hey, my forearm's tight," they say, "Then you're done." Instead of "Can you go?" And we'll see now, because Chris Bubic was a surprise to start the year. And I think even giving up 5 runs on 10 hits in 5 innings against that offense with those conditions, and the part of the conditions being his arm hurting, I think that's impressive. I mean, I liked what I saw out of him, knowing what we know now. So it's, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that some of those pitches that were left in the middle just didn't move enough because he was hurting, and that's why they didn't move enough.
Time will tell, definitely, on Chris Bubic. With Brady Singer, gives up the 7 runs in the first 2 innings, then settles down relatively so to finish things off. We know that there were some of the issues with location of pitches for Brady Singer in his start on Friday. But what I think I want to focus on more over here, Dave, what did you get of the mental makeup of Brady Singer from that start to where he could have shelled up, he could have walled off, even after the game, he could have made excuses, but it looked like there was some maturity and growth from Singer on just the mental side of being a pitcher, even with that bad start on Friday night?
100%. Absolutely. He, in the past, has not been the most stand-up guy after bad starts. I think I had the right start. I wrote about it. He struggled against the Rays in 2021, and I remember after I think it was that game. If it wasn't, it was another game. It doesn't matter. He went out there. He goes, I made good pitches. I made good pitches. They hit him. I made good pitches. And I remember, I should probably go back and find the newsletter. I remember going, no, these were not good pitches. They were in spots they shouldn't have been. They were bad pitches, and you can't go out there and say, I made good pitches and gave up 3 home runs or whatever it was in that game. And after the game, he said, look, I thought my stuff was really good. I agree. The numbers showed the stuff was really good. He got a bunch of whiffs. He struck out 8. He didn't walk anybody. I think you can have really good stuff and get shelled because sometimes you leave that stuff in a bad spot. And he owned up to it. And I think that's how you grow, because look, pitchers have bad starts. Sandy Alcantara, have you seen what he's doing this year? It's not pretty. He won the Cy Young last year, and he's had 2 out of 3 bad starts. I think it's 3. Pitchers struggle. Max Scherzer, he's good for 1 or 2 a year where he gives up 8 runs in 4 innings or whatever it is. It happens. But I appreciate, that, he came back and he went 3 more innings, gave up 1 more run, another home run. I think it was to Sean Murphy, which I don't think counts in this series. If you give up a home run to Sean Murphy, it's fine. He's going to hit one off everybody right now. But I thought overall, I was as happy as I can be with somebody who gave up 8 runs in 5 innings. I'm very interested to see his next start, partially too because he had been struggling to get the swing and miss, and he got it. So if he can carry that forward, that's a good sign.
All righty, last two for the road, Dave. Who leads the Royals in home runs this year?
Vinny.
Ooh, you're changing your answer already.
Yeah, I am, because I think part of it is he may be trying to hit some more home runs, which is okay if he's going to still be successful. And part of it, Salvi hasn't looked good.
Okay.
He really hasn't. He hasn't been driving the ball. So I'm going with Vinny.
All righty, and lastly, over under 69.5 wins for the Kansas City Royals this year.
I still say over. Oh, excuse me. got all verklempt.
I know 69.5 wins is a big number because that's what Vegas put it at, and you're trying to figure out if the Royals are going to cash that betting slip or not.
Yeah, it's 16 games. 16 tough games. I think that's oh my God, I'm sorry.
You're good, man. You're good.
Ooh, I'm getting over a cold. 16 tough games. I don't know that anybody would have expected them to go more than 6-10. So, yeah, I'm sticking with the over.
Dave, we appreciate the time. The Royals taking on DeGrom today. Who knows? Maybe lightning will strike and they'll hit DeGrom good like they did last time. Dave, we appreciate the time, and go drink some water.
I will. Thanks, guys.
Dave Lesky does a great job of his newsletter. You really need to check it out. Inside the Crown. Great stuff. Patrick Mahomes speaking to the media.
Only took him, 40 minutes past the expected time.
I don't. My man would have said, we need to stop and remember that Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl, played 3 playoff games with an ankle that had like the size of a softball because it was swollen so bad, had 1 incompletion in the second half in the Super Bowl and won it. He can be 2 hours late for all I care.
That's fair.
We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes coming up next. Fulton, hour number 3, the final hour of this edition of Mic'd Up. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a lovely afternoon here in the capital city. Supposed to get around 75 degrees, so we appreciate you stopping by. We will hear from Patrick LaVon Mahomes, the two-time MVP, the two-time Super Bowl champ, the two-time Super Bowl MVP. He just wrapped up speaking with the media today. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. As always, let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know your take. Also, check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/sportson580. Very simple, very easy. Check us out on our website, 580wibw.com. Royals in action tonight, taking on the Texas Rangers. We'll talk more Royals baseball coming up at the bottom of the hour. We will get into that momentarily. Have a little overreaction and proper reaction as well. The monster news of the day, that is Jalen Hurts is now the highest paid player in NFL history. The Eagles and Jalen Hurts agreed to a 5-year, $255 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid player in NFL history per average annual value. It includes $180 million in guarantees and also a no trade clause. This is what's incredible about this, is that Hurts now is going to be paid $51 million a year when it comes to the money side of things. $51 million. So the Eagles get their guy, and the Eagles, more importantly, get their guy done before Lamar got his contract done, before Justin Herbert got his contract done, and before Joe Burrow got his contract done. So this might end up looking like a better contract for the Eagles when it is all said and done. But Patrick Mahomes met with the media earlier today. And when I say earlier, I mean he just got done speaking to the media about 5 minutes ago. We heard from Andy Reid. Andy Reid basically just said that the guys have been down in Texas for the last week already, and the official offseason starts today for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that is one thing that Patrick Mahomes did mention about when it comes to this offseason and not being at the facility. It's a little bit more laid back, and it's not as if, hey, they just got done with the football season at the middle of February, and now they're already back at the facility in April. So it feels like maybe, it's a little bit more of a break, a little bit less of a stressful situation. And when you've got Patrick Mahomes, the individual who runs everything, if Patrick Mahomes says you need to do this, then you need to do it. It is very, very simple. We know who runs things at One Arrowhead Way. It is Patrick Mahomes through Andy Reid. And that is why this type of dynamic works very, very well for the Kansas City Chiefs. So not a surprise that they're doing this for the second straight time. But Patrick Mahomes says, hey, it's a little bit more fun for the guys as well. So that is a huge, huge positive. So Patrick Mahomes, here is what QB1, two-time MVP, man who wins Super Bowls on bad ankles, only has one incompletion in the second half, which was a throwaway. I still think, Fulton, we get caught up in, okay, what's next? And Mahomes does say, hey, when you win your second one, you realize how it's attainable and you want more, right?
I think so.
But I think as fans, you got to step back and go, it was just 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like it was basically 2 months ago. They won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, way to go, Chiefs. That's awesome. Like, I think we forget about that. But Patrick Mahomes met with the media. Here is what he had to say.
I wonder if there are two questions. One is just how quickly do you think you were able to turn forward from winning the Super Bowl and kind of what was the mechanism in that? Then I'll have a follow-up, Brad.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about winning the Super Bowl is your offseason gets a lot shorter. So I turned forward pretty quickly. I would say it was probably after I went to Vegas with Travis. After that, I was ready to get back to the next season. So we celebrated for about a week or two, and you go on little trips here and there and for relaxing, but I try to get in like 2 or 3 days of workouts in with Bobby and try to build up so that now I'm kind of back in that OTA mode and ready to go.
And I know you think about this stuff, but how would you say your sense of motivation is changed or the same from having won 2 Super Bowls now and 2 MVPs? What's sort of bubbling inside you now with that underneath you?
I think to me it makes you even more motivated. I mean, you can see the where you can get to. You can see that obviously winning a Super Bowl is so hard to do, but once you're able to do it multiple times, you see that it's obtainable to go out there and get more. And so for me, I understand it's going to be a challenge every year. Every year is a new year. You keep getting better and better. But the motivation is to continue to try to do whatever you can to get back and win that game.
Hey, Patrick, you guys said goodbye to Juju and McColl, and that means that Kadarius and Sky Moore are going to have bigger roles. Just when you think about those two guys, and love your comments individually for each guy, but what do you think they bring to the table, and what gives you confidence that maybe they could even have more production next year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I mean, you start off with getting both those guys in year 2 of the offense and letting them expand their roles. I think you could see it, especially with Sky at the end of the season, how he was getting more and more involved in the offense. And I think he'll continue to take those steps and be even better this next year when he's more comfortable, can utilize his talents even more. And then with Kadarius, I mean, I think y'all saw the upside this last year of how special of a talent he can be. And so to have him in that offense another year, have him working with Coach Reed, how we practice and training camp, I think he'll have his body in the best shape that you could possibly be in to go out there and be healthy all season long. And so we're excited for those guys to take those next steps within this offense.
Hey, Patrick, with the draft just coming up in about 10 days, just wondering if you could sort of backtrack to your draft night. Obviously, I know you talked a lot about just how it came to be with the marriage between you and Kansas City, but just specifically the experience of draft night as far as who was there, what that night was like for you.
Yeah, my draft experience was, it was awesome, obviously, but I didn't know kind of where I was going to get drafted at. I think at the very end, I had a sense I was going to get drafted higher than I even expected. But I had chosen to stay home. I got invited really late to the draft because I think I rose up the draft boards pretty quickly at the end. But I chose to stay home and be with my family, and we kind of rented out the top part of a restaurant in my hometown and had all my family and friends there. And it was cool. I mean, obviously you get drafted to the team you want to get drafted to, but it was early in the night, even though it feels like it's still like an hour into the draft at pick number 10. And then I got to do the media and stuff like that. And then you just enjoy that moment with everyone that's kind of been with you the whole way. And so for me, it was really cool to be able to be home, but I know I'm excited for all these guys to get to Kansas City this week. I mean, I know it's going to be a special environment, and I'm going to try to make it out at least one night and be a part of it.
Hey, Patrick, a similar question about the draft. Just how excited are you for Kansas City and Chiefs fans to kind of celebrate the Super Bowl again over the course of draft weekend here in town?
Yeah, no, I'm extremely excited. I remember whenever the draft got announced, I told Mark Donovan that I was going to make sure they say world champion in Kansas City Chiefs whenever they announce our pick. And so I held my word to that. And I don't know if it's ever been able to say that in the host city. But I'm excited for Chiefs Kingdom to be out there and obviously supporting the entire draftees and their process, but supporting the Kansas City world champion Kansas City Chiefs whenever our pick comes up.
That's good stuff, Patrick. How you doing, man?
Good, man.
Hey, I got two questions here for you. We're a little more than 2 months removed from you having the most watched right ankle injury in the history of the Super Bowl. Where would you say you are health-wise on that now? And I'll have the second one after that.
Yeah, I think now it's been more about just kind of managing it, but getting the mobility back as best as I possibly can. I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but I've had no necessary limitations. It's just when you go through a grind of a week of training and you're trying to push it and go through the rehab process, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're still building. You might be a little sore on the weekends, but I think we've done a great job of pushing it to the right limit to where now I'm throwing and stuff like that and having no limitations there. So I think there'll be running and cutting. There'll still be a little bit of limitations going the next few weeks, but I'm happy with where I'm at. And we'll keep pushing it and getting me to the right spot for the beginning of the season.
Pete asked you earlier about some of the new wide receivers or some of the wide receivers you're working out with down in Texas, but Justin Ross, he's gone viral with some of those videos. What have been some of your impressions of him now that you've got him there working away from the team?
Yeah, I mean, the talent's through the roof. I think anybody can see that, and I think he's gotten better and better. And even though he wasn't active all year long, he was in the building and he was able to see the guys and how we do things and listening and being in some of the meetings and stuff like that. And so I'm excited for him, man, to get out there and be able to get the reps and practice and get the little fine details that we like to do in this offense. And like I said, the talent's there. He works his tail off. I'm like, man, you got to ease up a little bit. He wants to run every route 100 times, but you rather have to ease up on the guy, make him kind of ease up on himself. But he wants to work and to be the best player that he could possibly be.
Hello, Patrick. Good to see you. I have two questions as well. My first is going through the scheme evaluations with the coaching staff and looking back on the season. Has there been something that you've identified even already that you want to improve on for next season?
Yeah, for me, I knew during the season this last year, I thought there was a couple of the deep throws that I didn't hit that I usually do. So just trying to get back to that and being able to hit those opportunities whenever I get them, because we don't get a lot of them. We get a lot of too high coverages and stuff like that. So whenever I do get those opportunities, I want to make sure that I'm connecting on those. And then little things, I'm just trying to get myself out of funks within the game. I mean, there's just times where I feel like I lose my footwork, which causes me to kind of have those spells where we're not scoring points. And instead of pressing and trying to do something extra to make stuff happen, just kind of getting back to the fundamentals and getting the ball out, which I think I have gotten better at. But at the same time, that's something that I have to work on every offseason.
Yeah, and secondly, because you're doing the throwing sessions again with the guys down in Texas, was there something that you wanted to add that's new this year or that's different from years, from last year previously because you went experience last year?
I think I had a better game plan for it just in general, just having a place for those guys to stay, getting the guys down here and with several weeks, but several different days that they can make it so that they don't have anything. They can be here for at least 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and they don't have to worry about having to fit it in their schedule. They have several opportunities. And then I think the biggest thing was I just had a better plan for what fields we could use, grass field option, turf field, indoor, and the timing so that we can get the guys in and out and they can still live their lives and be in virtual meetings and stuff like that. So I just had a better plan for myself of getting those guys down here. And we've had a great turnout, man. And I'm excited for these guys. Everybody looks hungry and ready to go.
Hey, Patrick, welcome back to the football season. I wanted to ask you about the ankle again. I remember a couple of years ago when you had the foot surgery, you felt like that maybe set you back a little bit, even when the season started. Do you feel like there's going to be any long-term setbacks here and with that ankle? And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
I don't think the ankle. I feel like the foot was way more serious, I guess you would say, than the ankle has been. I mean, the foot with having the surgery and having that cast on, it just really cut my mobility down a lot. And so I had to really work through that even into the season that next year. With the ankle, I've felt like we've improved, especially these last few weeks, a ton. As far as the swelling has went down finally, and I don't have that soreness just as much as I was having it after a few days of work. And so with the improvements that we're making these last few weeks, I have a great feeling that by the time we get to training camp, there won't even be any question at all. And so we'll continue to work through it at OTAs. I don't think there'll be any limitations on reps or anything like that, especially if I'm not running around a ton. But at the same time, we'll continue the rehab process and making sure that by the time we get to training camp, I can just roll out there and feel perfectly fine.
Okay, and it sounds like you're sort of for lack of a better term, the coach of those workouts down there. Is there value in that for you, maybe leading those workouts with no coaches around where you're sort of the guy?
I think there's a value to me talking to the guys like that, especially when you get new guys in. And I'm working with everybody that kind of is on the roster. And so for me to explain how I think of the route and how I teach it, and then them being able to go to the virtual meetings now and hear how the coaches teach it, I think it gives them a better understanding coming from different perspectives. And I've actually been proud of guys like Sky and Marquez especially. I mean, just how they've been able to help teach these guys that are new to the team how we run routes and everything like that. And I think that helps them as well. And so it just builds those relationships at the same time as those guys learning the offense as quickly as they can.
Hey, Patrick, you talked a little bit about what's going on down there. But, Coach Reed says one of the reasons, too, that he likes to do this now virtually, this phase one, is it gives guys a little bit more of a rest and recovery period. Does that still ring true with what's going on down there? And what's life down there? What do you guys call it? Is it Camp Mahomes? What are you guys doing down there when you're not playing football?
No, I mean, I definitely think they get more rest and stuff like that. We get the workout in. We kind of manage those guys, especially the days we run routes, making sure they get work in, but at the same time they have their legs. And then I feel like I have a good feel for how much to push those guys where they can get the routes in what they need, but not too much. And I think them just being kind of not necessarily in the building. We were in the building so much, especially when you get to the Super Bowl, the season's so long. And I think them they're all staying together at a house that's kind of on the lake. So I'm sure they're having some good times out there. And then they're able to get there in the building, work out, and then get a few routes, and then they're done for the day. And so I don't know, we don't have a name for it yet, but we'll get some lunches and some dinners, and we'll be ready to go whenever we get back to KC.
Hey, Pat, appreciate the time here. It's not football related, but one of things that's on the mind here in Kansas City is a case that's kind of got some national attention, this Ralph Yarl case. You're a guy who's got a big platform. You've used that platform to talk about school-age children and reading and all that. Maybe your thoughts on that case, or just generally some of the gun violence we've seen in schools since the last time we talked to you.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I just want to say my prayers and support are for Ralph and his recovery. You never want these situations to happen, but especially from the details that I've gotten from it, it seemed like it should have never even happened. It should have been a easy kind of conversation, and then both people go on their ways, and this kid being able to pick up his family members and being with his family right now and not in a hospital. And so my prayers are for him first and his recovery. And then, just hopefully the justice system does right by him and everyone involved, and we're able to not have to have these conversations, and we were able to hold each other accountable for our actions. And so obviously more and more details are hopefully going to come out, and he makes a full recovery, and then the justice system does its part, and that we're all held accountable every single day.
Hey, Patrick, how you doing, man? I appreciate the time, man.
Sir.
Hey, just want to ask you, I know guys don't like to talk about other players' deals, man, but since it was so record-breaking, I want to ask you about Jalen Hurts, a guy you played against in the Super Bowl, just signed a new extension. What does that say about the quarterback position, and also being that he's a black quarterback as well?
Yeah, first off, congrats to him. He deserves it. I think he's someone that plays the position the right way. He goes about his business the right way, and that's why they were in the game, the Super Bowl. And he played a great game in the Super Bowl, and it proved a lot of people wrong, even that were still doubting him. And so, obviously, it's great for the quarterback position, the black quarterbacks that are coming up behind us, and them getting their deals. Obviously, we know with Lamar and everything going on there, and trying to get these guys the deals that they deserve. But it's really cool to see, because now there's not hesitation on guys to get these deals, and even if they have to utilize running to make stuff happen, there's such big impacts on the game that they're getting the money they deserve. And so our job in this league is go out there and win football games and make money while we do it. And I'm glad to see that the guys that are doing it the right way are getting the job security that they deserve.
So that's what Patrick Mahomes had to say to the media today. They don't have a name for it yet. Camp Mahomes, still trying to figure out what they're going to call that. Happy for Jalen Hurts. Not a surprise. Got paid a whole bunch of money. Congrats to the Eagles. Now you have to do things completely different from here on out. So Patrick Mahomes meeting with the media. Not a whole lot of earth-shattering stuff. Did talk about John Ross there. The speedy guy. I think the Chiefs have enough speedy guys. I don't think they need any more speedy guys. I think they need a guy who can run routes and actually catch the ball instead of just, hey, I'm fast. So who's this year's Justin Watson? Is it Ross? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on who he had to say, because he was very, well, look at this Justin Watson guy. And now he's going to be with the Chiefs potentially for 3 years. So good stuff from Patrick Mahomes. Coming up next, overreaction, proper reaction here on Mic'd Up. Proper reaction. Alrighty. The NBA playoffs. You didn't think I was going NBA off the rip here, did you?
No.
No. The NBA playoffs are as wide open as they have ever been. Overreaction, proper reaction.
Let's take a look here.
Just off the don't do any
I mean, I
digging.
would say proper. I will openly admit, I think there's actually, I would say overreaction. I think there's like 3 teams that could win it. Like, and it's,
I mean, the Bucks just lost. The Lakers beat the Grizzlies. I mean, you've got a lot of the top teams right now are not winning. The Sacramento Kings beat the Golden State Warriors. So a lot of the, best teams out there not winning.
I mean, I'll say this for the Kings and Warriors. The Kings are the better seed. So the Kings winning that series should not constitute any sort of an upset. Like, no, like, one, they're all 1 game in.
Okay.
It is a 7-game series.
So
if you are making drastic, sweeping, declarative statements after 1 game in these series, seek help. Like many years ago, the Chicago Bulls as an 8 seed won the first 2 games against the Celtics, were up 2-0 in the series, lost the series 4-2. Like,
so overreaction.
I think it's overreaction. Like, I think give it half a week and go into the next round and it'll be like, oh well, I guess mostly chalk's happening.
So
like,
it'll be Bucks.
Like
and...
you would have to give me ridiculous odds for me to believe that the Heat will actually beat the Bucks in a 7-game series.
What about
even without Giannis?
What about Lakers over Grizz?
You would have to give me a lot of money to think that the Grizzlies will lose that entire series.
Okay.
Like, it is 1 game. Like, at least like those 2 particular, Miami in a 7-game series, unless they get incredibly lucky, are not better than Milwaukee. Even without Giannis.
Even without Giannis.
Even without Giannis.
Whoa. Okay.
Like, Lakers being like, the Lakers are a team of 87-year-olds and Austin Reeves. That isn't winning 7 games, even with LeBron James. In my opinion. Like, I don't know if I'd call it wide open.
The next time that they play will be on Wednesday. So we'll find out. Maybe the Lakers go up 2-0. Maybe the Heat go up 2-0. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I would need to see these series get closer to wrapping up before I say anything's wide open at this moment. And again, this is heavily predicated on a lot can happen in a 7-game series. And so after 1 game, I mean, we've seen plenty of these where something wild happens first off. You're like, that's a, like the Lakers and they're winning against the Grizzlies, like, oh, it's spicy. They could lose the next 4 and we're all like, oh, okay now. Like, same thing for Bucks and Heat. Like, Bucks could rattle off 4 straight wins, win the series in 5, and we all go, oh, what were we talking about? That's my thing with 7-game series in those ones. But I will say, I don't think it's crazy to think it is wide open.
Right.
I don't think that's crazy to say. I do think it's really fun the Sacramento Kings are a 3 seed this year's playoffs, though. That's wild.
Fox and Monk had a great game.
That is absolutely wild. Overreaction, proper reaction. The Royals are going to have a winning record over their final 13 games this month.
Oh, this is an overreaction. They're not going to.
Schedule lightens up.
I'm just going to go with how they're playing.
Okay.
Yeah. Overreaction.
Okay.
Overreaction.
Okay.
I gotta see something to be a little bit more optimistic for the Royals in this situation. I'll stay with the Royals. Overreaction, proper reaction. I asked this, and David Lesky said Vinny Pasquantino. Does Vinny Pasquantino lead the Royals in home runs this year?
I'm gonna say proper.
He's leading him right now. He's got 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that one, no matter the way I shake at it, I cannot answer this confidently. No matter how I shake this tree, the confident answer is not going to come out of me.
Salvador Perez has 2.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt has 2. Franmil Reyes has 2.
I think Vinny might be the most consistent hitter of the group. I think it's Vinny. I think it might be Vin. I think he's fixed his swing path enough. Well, not fixed, but changed because it wasn't broken before. Modified his swing path enough that he's going to have more homers than double power. And yeah, I'm gonna go with Vin for now. I'm gonna stick with the clubhouse leader. I don't feel great about it.
A lot of sound effects going on right now.
Yeah, it's such a small sample size. It's always those small sample sizes. They're very difficult. They're very difficult. So they make me not confident in words I say.
Okay,
that's the big thing for me. That's that's the thing for me. We had some Chiefs audio played today, so let's sit with the Chiefs and go a little crazy. Overreaction, proper reaction. The Kansas City Chiefs will host yet another AFC Championship game this season.
All right.
It's very early to make these thoughts, but I think that's the spirit of the game.
Do you side with eventually they're due not to host the title game?
I think we all know where I sit on their due statements.
They've done it 5 years in a row. Never been done before.
Nope.
Hadn't even been done 4 years in a row.
Correct.
And they did it 5 years in a row.
Yeah, they did.
Just on the sheer possibility that it's so hard to do 6 years in a row. Like, Patrick Mahomes has not played in a road playoff game. I don't count the Super Bowl in Tampa as a road game, even though the Bucs were playing at their home park. He's never played in a road game. Like, I cannot wait. I'm telling you this right now. Let's say the Chiefs don't. Let's say they're the 2 seed and the Jags are the 1 seed. All right.
Heck of a team to pick to be the 1 seed.
And the Jags,
heck of a team,
win their games and head to the title game. And they host there in Jacksonville. I cannot. I'm going to tell you this right now. The number one talking point. Well, Patrick Mahomes has never played on the road before in a playoff game. How is he going to handle it? That's what's going to happen. And you know it. I know it. It's going to happen.
We all understand how this game is played.
Never played a road playoff game. A fun fact. I'm going to say. Did you say they will or won't?
Will.
I'm going to say overreaction. I think
you think they finally don't host one?
Yeah, I think
because there's also, I will just add to this. There's also the universe to this, which is just they don't make the AFC Championship game. They can't host it if they're not in it.
I'm going to say that they'll be on the road this year.
But you do think they get there?
Yeah, it's 6 years in a row is just so hard.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with basically you're saying the Chiefs or the field. I'll take
essentially. I'm basically telling you Chiefs or the field.
Yeah, I'll take the field.
This is entirely not even part of the game this month, but it's just a follow-up I want. Who do you think would be the number 1 seed then if it's not the Chiefs? If you had to make a guess, I'm not going to hold you to anything. But if you had to look at the landscape of the AFC right now, who would you think would get the number 1 seed then? Because I believe you're the one that said you don't even think the Chiefs will lose 5 games this year. So you're saying if they're 13-4, the 1 seed would have to be at least 13-4 and have beaten the Chiefs head-to-head.
Yeah. I think the Bengals or the Bills are the 2, obviously.
I think that's the fair. I think that's the fair point.
I don't.
Do you got a dark horse yet that you think could be really good this year?
I think the Jaguars.
Okay.
I really do.
So you were only half joking when you said Jacksonville.
Because they're scheduled. I mean, they play in a doopy division, man. You got the Texans.
Yeah, they do really play in an absolute poo-butt division.
You have the Texans. They stink.
Yeah.
You have the Colts. They're going to have a rookie quarterback.
As will the Texans.
Yeah, and then you've got
Tennessee.
Another rookie quarterback. Or
bummy Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. So give me the Jags.
Okay.
Give me the Jags. Coming up next, we'll get to the Royals lineup. And I'm not there yet, but we're close. I'll get to that coming up next. Taking on the Rangers. Lineup is out. Bobby Witt leading off this time. He's playing DH. Okay. Melendez in right field. Batting second. Pasquantino at first base. Perez catching. So they got the four guys that need to play all the time up there. That's positive. Bobby Witt Jr. DH. So he gets,
half day,
which, yeah, okay. I mean, he already had a day off, like a complete day off. They're going to have an off day Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm not going to, I'd rather him play short, but okay, I'm not going to lose sleep over that. Isbell in center, Dozier at third, Duffy at second, Lopez at short, and Eaton at left field. That back in the lineup. Although that Nicky Lopez is doing, I don't want to say
he's fine.
Good, but
he's fine.
He's getting on base.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that he actually is doing is he gets on base. So despite him, having the power of my kid, he gets on base, which is important. Dozier back in the lineup. Yeah, keep throwing out there. They didn't put Duffy back in there.
Mm-hmm.
Duffy hadn't played in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of interested in that. Nate Eaton. We're going to play a fun game real quick. Okay. Will Nate Eaton strike out in half as many of his at-bats? So if he gets to bat 4 times today, will he strike out 2 of them?
I'm going to be positive today. No.
Well, you would be going against the numbers.
I know. He's got a bad strikeout rate right now.
No, that would be kind. He has an awful strikeout rate right now. 10 Ks for his 19 at bats with no walks. So you're going with he's due.
No.
He is going up against Jacob deGrom right now, too.
No.
Okay. The eternal optimist, Fulton. I love it. I'm happy that I'm glad you're
someone around here with this fan base has to not think the sky is falling.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, the only one.
Do you feel like you got like the weight of the Royals fan base on your shoulders?
No, it's not that. I gotta stop paying attention to the Royals fan base. I have to stop. Because y'all are tiring. And I mean that like just a universal one, not like you a part of them specifically.
No,
y'all are
hate
tiring, man.
You really do. I don't want to say you hate. That's too strong. You really dislike me being a realist in this situation.
Well, and no. That's not. I think there's a line between being a realist and being a pessimist. There's a line with this team, and even underscoring negative aspects that cross from realism to pessimism. I think you dance that line. I don't think you're fully over on either side of the line. I think you dance that line.
I think I don't expect something that I don't think is going to happen. And you being a numbers guy does surprise me. Because you are a numbers guy. And that's why I look at, like, so far, the numbers say that Nate Eaton's probably going to strike out against Jacob deGrom.
Let's play some fun with numbers.
You realize that
Let's have some fun with numbers.
Hold on a second.
No, we're going to have some fun with numbers.
I know. I'm going to have some fun with numbers, too.
Okay.
What is Nate Eaton's OPS plus?
This year?
Yeah.
I just pulled it up. It's -71.
I didn't even know a number could go that low.
Oh, it can get lower.
He's got to be is he the worst hitter? He's only had 19 at bats, so it's not like,
No, we're going to play this game.
Okay.
What was last year? What's my sample size here? My sample size is 44 games and 122 plate appearances, 106 at bats.
Okay.
What was Nate Eaton's strikeout rate last year?
I have no idea.
24%.
Okay.
I'm electing. I do this with Nate Eaton. I do this with Michael Massey. I do this with any player at this time of year. I don't look at their rates for this year. To an extent, there are certain rates that you can't look at. But also, some of these guys, like, we go back to sample size.
What is the rate that you can look at right now?
There's not many that stabilize this fast. Like, you can, if they're near their career number, yes.
Okay.
Like, and then there's like Chris Bubic, Chris Bubic's walk rate is tremendously down right now, which to a certain extent you go, I don't know if that's sustainable because it's so much off the number. But when you look at the peripherals of what he's throwing, what his pitches look like, how different is he, it makes you believe that rate is sustainable.
Okay.
Where I look like Nate Eaton has a strikeout. His strikeout rate this year is 52.6%. That's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable number. Could it this year, if he played the entire year, would it be higher than 24.6%? Entirely likely. Entirely.
How much of it?
But 52%, that is one of those numbers in this sample size you go, that's just an unsustainable rate.
In a one-game sample size, going up against Jacob deGrom, and he is clearly not seeing the ball well. Was he in the lineup the last time they played?
I'm literally in the process of searching that whenever the internet decides to cooperate with me.
Don't get mad at the internet.
Don't get mad at the internet. I'll get mad when it won't load my website. That I'm trying to look at. I believe he did bat against Jacob deGrom. I'm trying to pull up. All right. Okay. That was the loss. That was the 8. Was that the? That was the 8-5 loss.
Yes.
He had 2 at bats in that game. I believe they were both out. He came in the 7th inning. I think he might have had 1 at bat against deGrom. I'm not confident. But those 2 at bats, he struck out once. Over 2 with a strikeout. Which, I mean, 52% strikeout rate. Yeah.
There we go.
That
is what I'm going to be following tonight. Young Nate.
I've said this about 30 million times at this point when it comes to the Royals. The Royals are not a great team. They are on the side of the bad line. Bad teams have bad players that are going to be in the lineup. Their lineup will never be perfect. Their lineup will rarely ever make you go, that's a good lineup.
You ready for this? You ready?
Because they have bad players.
I'm not there yet. But we're getting very, very closely to. Oh, Hunter Dozier's in the lineup? Yeah, I don't care. Not there yet. Close. And we're going to talk about it tomorrow because I want to get into a little bit more in depth. I think there is a date that we can all look at coming up for the Kansas City Chiefs. Kind of like what we did last year, where you looked at it and you said, all right, if they need to do this, if they do this over this number, then I can pretty much declare the line in the sand. So I do think that. Right now, though, I don't like the Dozier in the lineup. I'm not a fan.
It's been, 2.5 weeks.
I know. His 29 OPS. I had no idea you could have a negative 71. Is that the worst right now through 19 games?
We're about to find out. I don't think it is.
Who's worse than? He's got one hit. This is a stolen base.
I would really like things to load faster.
When your batting average is the same as your slug, that ain't good.
You know what's worse? When your on base percentage is lower than your batting average.
Well, it's the same.
I know. You know what's worse? When your on base percentage is lower than your batting average.
Yeah.
There are players this year who are still at that number. Let's do this.
Oh yeah. Hey, I need to know. It's like minus 71.
Oh, that's team number. So that still makes me sad.
The A's got to have somebody worse than Nate Eaton, right?
There it is. I need to get rid of non-qualifiers. All right. Of his sample size of 9 games, Nate Eaton does have the lowest OPS plus. He does not have the worst OPS plus of somebody who's at least played at least one game.
How does somebody go 0 for 4 with 4 Ks?
No, 0 for 4 with 2 Ks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players with a negative 100 OPS plus.
Did you know that Nicky Lopez has an OPS plus that's over 100?
Good.
How about that?
Good for him.
Yeah. Should be our starting everyday third baseman, Nicky Lopez.
I hate that I can't disagree with that.
We might have to get you fired up one of these days this week.
Oh, buddy.
And talk about your guy, Mr. Garcia.
Oh, there's a few fellas right now that I could. There's a lot with this Royals team and this Royals fan base that just is making my brain spin. Some of you out there just, I love y'all. Y'all are good people. Man, some of y'all make no sense. I mean, zero.
What's the plus minus for the Royals?
The what?
What are they? Plus 250?
I'm gonna say plus 2.
They've improved.
I was gonna say plus 200.
Not even. They're plus 180.
They're at home.
Were they 1-9?
That's its own thing. But no, last time they faced Jacob deGrom, they competed. Now, will they do that again? That's difficult. But you have Vinny, the Jacob deGrom killer Pasquantino in the lineup tonight. So
look at that.
I will use this time, as I always do, to remind everybody, if you're making broad sweeping assumptions about a team or player, not just Royals Bubic, anyone, after 2.5 weeks, I beg you to seek some help.
They're just tired of.
I don't agree with Dayton Moore on a lot of things. I agree with him. You need about 40 games so you can really start making some assumptions.
Yes, but I also think you can make a decision a little bit quicker with
depending on certain very, very specific circumstances.
Yep, I do. Coming up next, we will get to our mic drop. Big drop, Fulton. What do you got?
Go beat Jake or DeGrom. Probably won't happen. But let's have fun. Let's stop being so negative all the time. It's more fun to be positive.
Over under 8.5 strikeouts for Jacob DeGrom.
Under, because he'll have like 8.
8.
Hey, the under worked last time for me. We got home.
He had 9, and it was 9.5.
Yeah, it was. We got home.
So you think he's only going to strike out 8?
Sure.
Under the 8. Okay. All right. My mic drop is that the Kansas City Chiefs trust Patrick Mahomes so much that they say, hey, go run phase 1.
It's awesome.
Go run phase 1, my man. Have him out there at the lake house down there in Texas. Go run some routes. It's amazing. Coming up next, we got 580 Sports Talk, then Royals Baseball.